one. I'm here with my good friends Anna and Travis Denny, restaurant here in Bernie, California, and I've known them for at least 2 years, maybe 3 years.
3 years.
I think 3 years now. And they have an amazing testimony. I did some ministry here this weekend. We did some hiking yesterday, and
Nelson tried to kill us yesterday.
saw some waterfalls, and we got to go on a train track. And the movie Stand By Me has the actual train. They don't actually have they have the bridge there still, so I got to visit that. And actually today, it was a clear day. I could see Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is what, about 50, 60 miles away?
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah, so anyways, welcome. Thank you guys for watching live right now. Again, you guys can watch this, of course, recorded. So I want to share an amazing testimony. And what I want to do basically is let you guys explain, you know, maybe a little bit about your life growing up, and then get into how did you guys hear about, you know, our ministry, Restored to Freedom, and then what has it done for you. So where'd you guys grow up at? Tell us your story.
I grew up right here, Bernie, California. I
Okay.
was born in Fall River Mills,
Okay.
so about, 15 miles from here. And I was raised on a ranch out by Lake Britain, out by the Stand By Me Bridge.
All right.
Got to go down to my three-wheeler and watch them tape it.
Really?
Yes, I did.
And that was what, 1986?
Yep, I'm right there.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome.
And then, where'd you? You're West Virginia. I'm
I'm
related to
from
everybody here, so.
West Virginia. I moved here when I was 11 years old, and I met Travis in the 4th grade. We've been friends since the 4th grade,
Okay.
and we got married when we were 19.
Wow. And you have how many children?
We have 3 girls.
3 girls. All right. And when did you start to have, I know that you had been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. When did that happen in your life?
I don't know, she's
That was
better
probably,
dates than me.
probably
2014?
7 years ago now.
14, I think.
Okay.
2014.
All right.
Yeah,
And,
7 years
and
ago.
make sure you speak a little louder so that they can hear.
7 years ago.
Okay.
It was.
And why? What were the symptoms that you had?
My arm just quit working. Then I started slurring speech about what? That was a year later though, wasn't it?
Probably. That was, so when his arm quit working, that was before he had
The
any type
diagnosis.
of diagnosis or anything, but
Okay.
he started slurring his speech, and we thought that maybe he had like something going on with his heart or something.
Okay.
So we ended up going to Mercy Medical Center, and they kept him in there for like 5 or 6 days. And first they thought he had a brain tumor, and then the brain tumor doctor came in and said that it wasn't a brain tumor. He thought it was MS, and so then the MS doctor came in and said that he thought it was MS. So then they did a spinal tap, and they said that it was MS. And so,
So that was 2014?
yeah.
Right there.
Okay, all right. And so then, how did, when you walked forward from that, what happened in your life as far as the next year or the next year? What kind of symptoms and so forth?
Lots of doctors and medicine and failing livers and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
All their shots made me sick.
Uh-huh.
Couldn't walk, couldn't stand up.
Okay.
He would, when he did walk, he looked like he was drunk.
Okay.
A lot of times, and people thought he was drunk.
Uh-huh.
And then his speech was really broken up, and like he would slur. He couldn't get his words out very good.
Okay.
He
Wasn't a
would,
very good driver.
yeah.
Okay.
And he would aspirate when he would eat. So there's 2 types of MS, and his was the most rare type.
Oh, wow.
His not only attacks your limbs, but it would also attack your speech, your equilibrium, your trach,
Okay.
so it won't close and open like it should.
Mm.
So people that had his type of MS usually die pretty quickly because they choke on their own food. So
Oh,
it goes down
wow.
into their lungs, and then it kills them from the aspiration of the food in their lungs.
Wow.
So he would aspirate after he ate his food. He would cough for 2 or 3 hours sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So.
Wow. So not a good prognosis then.
No.
No.
Everyone that knew about that probably thought you were going to die.
Well, it takes a long time to die from MS, so you don't just die right off. I mean,
But it gets worse.
It does as time goes by. The more lesions you get, the worse it gets. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, it takes a long time. But as you get older, it gets worse. And if they can't stop it, inflammation, then you get more lesions in different spots of your brain, and
Uh-huh.
that's what kills nerve cells. You know, it's a mylar, it eats a mylar, so it exposes the nerves, so they're just open in there,
Okay.
and that's what happens.
Okay.
And that's how you lose functions and everything, because your coating on your nerves is gone.
Okay. Wow. So, 2014, 2015 was worse than 2014 for you, I assume.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. And then 2016, and then we became friends on Facebook in, when was it, 2017 or 2018?
I think it was, I want to say 17. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It was 17.
Okay. And then I was talking about, getting healed, Deliverance, the spirits of Jezebel, Leviathan, and so forth. So you started watching that, and what was Travis's reaction when you were?
I would just listen to it, like we'd lay down in our bed or whatever, and I'd turn your stuff on and I'd listen to it, and so he would just kind of start hearing it,
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't really
Or
say
the
too
optimistic.
much. Yeah, he didn't really say too much, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew that because when you started talking about Masons and things like that, I knew that that's why he had the things that he had, because of the bloodline generational stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like everything that you would talk about completely made sense, because it was spot on, as to why these things would happen. And when you explain it about, because people think that when they get unknown diseases that are uncurable, like cancer and things like that, that God's punishing them or something, and it's not God.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't understand, like Travis, he never did drugs, he never drank alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't understand why he had this debilitating disease and he's never done anything wrong in his life. He's like, I don't know what I've done to deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done drugs. And he's out there running doing drugs, and here I am, never done anything in my life, and I've got this debilitating disease.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, when I started hearing about the Mason thing, I was like, no way. I can't believe this stuff, because it was crazy. It just lined right up with everything.
My grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason. He
Yeah.
was way up there.
Okay, yeah, that's the highest you can get. It's the
And I
33rd
didn't
degree.
know him. I
Mhm.
went and stayed with him, but he was real secretive. He didn't talk about anything.
Mhm.
I mean, he talked. I mean, he wasn't like a weird guy. He just didn't
Yeah.
about life. He didn't talk about life.
Okay.
He talked about right then what we were doing, or help him work on something, or
Mhm.
he built water trucks and stuff, and I learned a lot from him. But he just was really
Cold.
set back in what the past, like what he didn't talk about anything in the past in life. He didn't
Okay.
about growing up. He didn't.
Okay.
I heard that from everybody else of where they lived and how they grew up and what all he had,
Uh-huh.
and not much about the Masons until we started looking at it. When my mother actually, my dad was joining it, and my mom started researching it, and she didn't like it,
Uh-huh.
and she pretty much will come down. He was doing it just because he didn't know anything about it really, but he was joining it because his father was.
Yeah.
He was getting old and he wanted to do something with him, kind of. I think is what the deal was.
Uh-huh.
And then it ended up coming down to a bad deal, and my mom, they got through it, but he quit doing it.
Okay.
I mean, right
He had a dream
yeah, that's something
that
about that.
his dad had a dream.
He
and it was
actually
just a
asked
red-
Anna. He actually asked Anna about. My mom asked Anna what she thought about it,
Okay.
about the dream part.
There was he had a dream about a red blinking light, and that's all there was a red blinking light.
Okay.
I didn't
So
know my
that
dad
means-
dreamed, so this was all new to me.
Okay.
It's my
that
father.
means
you know?
stop, you know, to me that would mean stop. And
Yeah.
so she asked, or she had told me about this dream, about just this red blinking of light, and then she told me that he had joined the Masons, and I said, well, that's because the Lord wants him to stop then.
Uh-huh.
That means stop what you're doing.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, okay, that's it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
she talked to him about it, and you know, because she had researched on it a little bit and everything, and then she asked me about it, in which I didn't really know that much about it at
Mhm.
that point either, but I knew it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I started listening to your videos and everything, then I was like, oh, okay, well, you
Mm-hmm.
know, there you have it.
Yeah.
So it made a lot more sense too. But
Yep.
needless to say, I think he only went to 2 meetings and then he didn't go back ever
Okay.
again. Which was,
And this was your dad?
Yes.
Your dad. Okay. All right. So your grandfather was a 33rd degree, which is like the highest you can get, and
Pretty sure that's how high he was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I don't
he
know the
was.
exact.
He was-
No one really said
he
much,
was.
Okay.
much about
Okay.
anything, but
Yeah.
he was way up there.
no,
Yeah.
he was, I remember.
He did it for years. I mean, he was all the
Mhm.
meetings up here in Fall
Mhm.
River and everywhere else. He was always there.
yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, and in those meetings, and I had a friend that went to my church, and he went through 33rd degrees as well. He became then a Shriner after that. So all the Shriners have had to go through to the 33rd degree level. And he told me at the 30th degree they had to make a pledge and say that I am going to serve essentially Satan at that point. And they were basically
I'm
selling.
pretty sure he was a Shriner too, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure he was. At the end.
I think so.
Okay. So then at that point, you know, they know what they're doing at that point. It's a slow, gradual process from the first degree. You know, it takes years and takes lots of money to pay in dues, and it's all with the hope of making lots of money and having protection from the brotherhood and court systems, police,
Tell 'em
and
what
all
they
kinds.
Yeah, so when he got sick and needed help, he asked them for help, the Masons, you know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And they told him they wanted his house, they wanted all his collateral.
Really?
They want to help him, they wanted him to give everything to them.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know
Sign
that.
everything over, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when he actually was in need,
So all their
that's
protection
how
that
good
they
a help,
promised,
that's how
you
good a
get
help they are, is when he was actually in need, they wanted all of his stuff.
Plus they took all of his money all of his life for his
Uh-huh.
dues and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so it's not good. And so essentially, you know, there are curses that will come down the bloodline because of what they declare. You know, they're basically saying, okay, I'm going to curse, you know, down to the 2nd and the 3rd generations. And of course, it talks about in the Bible where the sins of the fathers can go down to the 2nd and the 3rd and the 4th generations. And so essentially, that's a real life situation that's going on all over the world, essentially, but also, especially here in America. All these churches and the people that are involved in that organization, you know, and there's other organizations beyond that. So life and death is in the power of a person's tongue. And God created the world because He spoke it into existence, but the enemy wants us to speak words that can curse our generations down the bloodline. So that's what's happened. What happened was that MS came upon you. You didn't do anything wrong. You were an innocent, you know, victim. But yet, because of what?
I wouldn't say innocent, but.
Well, you're not. Nobody's without sin, obviously. But yeah, I mean, but still, you're doing the best you can to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
good and godly and so forth. So anyway, that will come down the bloodline. So once you learned about all this, you know that it says my children will perish because of lack of knowledge. Now that you have the knowledge of this, now it's like, okay, what do I do to reverse it? So what happened?
So we figured out, after we figured it all out and everything, and then Travis just said, where's that book at? I want you to read me that book. So
And
I
the
read
book
him
was
Restored to Freedom.
Mhm.
And I had probably already read it 3 times before that.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is, the first time that I tried to read it, I was sitting on my front porch, and every time I pick it up to read it, my phone would go crazy.
Really?
It would start blowing up. People would be calling it, and then they would be texting me.
Wow.
And it was the craziest thing. Like, the enemy did not want me to read that book.
Yeah.
And so finally, I turned my phone off and took it in the house, and then I just read
Uh-huh.
the book. But
Okay.
And everybody should just turn their phone off, because they're worthless.
but anyway, I read the book to him, and I think the second time that we read the prayers out of the book, he belched for 3 days.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah.
And I'll speak to the audience. So oftentimes when people get healed and they get delivered, they'll yawn or
I
they're
did a lot of that too.
Yeah,
Yawning
he
or belching.
yawned and belched.
Tears running in my eyes are yawning so much.
Yeah.
really wow. So
And
that's
it was so funny because he would
She'd
just
get mad at me because I'd go to she think I was falling asleep.
yeah.
So
mm,
I was. I might have been.
I don't know, but he just kept belching, and it was the funniest thing.
mm,
I would say, "Oh my goodness!" It was like the biggest. I've never heard him like that. I mean, you know, everybody
Mhm.
belches, but it was like,
and that's a sign essentially of deliverance is when people are getting delivered and freed and healed. It's like belching and I always do not want people to vomit because well, some people have done that, but not with our ministry normally. So
Mhm.
people don't do that, but they will belch and they will yawn, and that's a nice, calm,
Mhm.
dignified way
Mhm.
of seeing that you're being delivered essentially and healed.
and he also had a encounter with Jesus, he was driving home from Reading. You want to tell it?
No, you don't.
You tell it.
Huh?
You tell it.
I was just driving home and just could see him praying and seeing him. I seen him walking and a path that showed me a path that I need to walk on.
Okay,
Is what it was.
so you saw Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, pretty clear actually. It was really clear too.
okay, really. So as you were driving, you were seeing a vision basically. Very
And
cool.
he even saw the color of his eyes and everything.
Green and everything. Yeah.
Really?
Really light color.
Wow.
That's pretty close. That was pretty. Give me the chills really bad.
Cool. Very cool.
But he took Jesus took his hand in my hand in his
Showing us a path that we need to
and
walk
put
on.
our hands together and then showed us down the path.
Wow. Very cool.
That's pretty interesting.
And he also saw his grandparents in heaven.
Okay.
That was before that, though, wasn't it?
I think that was before that.
So what time frame was this? That you read the prayers and this was going
That
to
was
couple years
probably
ago.
2018,
18?
19?
It had been 19.
Probably 19. 2019 when
Okay.
he had the encounter with Jesus.
Okay. All right.
But
And so what happened symptom-wise physically with your body? When you're-
he used to not be able to go in the heat
He used
at
to
all.
shake really bad. No.
Yeah, and his hands would shake.
all.
He
I
couldn't
can
even get his
hold
food to
coffee,
his
I do
mouth.
nothing.
oh wow.
Yeah.
I just used to shake really bad.
And when it was hot outside, you couldn't be outside.
I just was
Okay.
like what we did.
He was
yes-
pretty
what we
much
did
well-
yesterday.
Yeah.
You'd have done called the ambulance at the railroad tracks.
Yeah. He would have
Wow.
never made it
I
even.
never made doing that.
Yeah. Wow.
It get so hot, I'd be done.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I've always sweated a lot, but when I was at my worst of that,
Uh-huh.
I can't even walk outside and push a wheelbarrow for 10 feet. I mean,
Wow.
I
Wow.
was just drenched. I had to wrap stuff around my head to keep all the sweat from running down my body and stuff. And
Uh-huh.
And he would get overheated like super just instantly and have to go in the house and sit
like
on
people
the
get
air
hot,
conditioner.
people sweat. I mean, when you're doing things and hiking and whatever, but
Uh-huh.
to an extent. But I mean, I would be. It'd make me so lightheaded and nauseous and stuff. I mean, my shirt would be solid wet. I mean, it would be that bad. My body would
Wow.
sweat that bad.
Wow.
I didn't do anything for 2 years. I just didn't do anything.
So after the prayers, then that was all gone.
Took a couple times.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
We did them 2 or 3
Probably
times.
6
I think.
times.
Yeah, I guess we
Yeah.
did do them quite a few times.
And
I
then
listened to
each
you do them. We
time-
did it with you a few times on the video. We did some
Mhm.
stuff, and
Okay.
Yeah, we would watch
it's
the
got better and
videos.
better and better. And then I haven't looked back and haven't had anything like that since. So
So it's
And he hasn't been on medication for 4 years.
it's
wow.
longer than that. It's 5 years.
5 years.
5 years now.
Wow. That's awesome.
Haven't been to the doctor either, but
Uh-huh. Don't need
the other
to.
doctors push you a lot, but I haven't did it yet.
So he did get blood work done
I did
not
once,
very
yes.
long ago because his doctor kept, pushing him.
Yeah.
And so he got blood work done, and people that have autoimmune diseases, they always have low vitamin D,
Mm-hmm.
and his blood work came back, and his vitamin D, everything was
Said I was
perfect.
a little low on vitamin B, but nothing.
Uh-huh.
And then I needed to eat more sugar, which she didn't agree with.
Yeah.
Said
more cookies
my
and
blood sugar low.
candy.
My blood
I
sugar
said
was
that's
low.
probably because you didn't eat breakfast.
That's what
Wow.
he told me, and I told her that, and she didn't agree with it.
Yeah.
I tried.
So you basically got your life back then.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's amazing.
Now she has to put up with me again.
So since you've learned about this stuff, how many others have you talked about and helped and at least shared?
No, we've tried to talk to probably 100 people or better, but
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Lots of people. I mean, we're always. I mean, if you get a chance, or she's usually the one in the middle of people. I'm usually doing other things, but
Yeah.
I always know what she's up to, and I know that.
Yeah.
Because everybody's in a circle and they're all looking at her. It's
So what do the people react when they knew you before and then after? Were they like shocked and surprised?
Yes, I don't know.
I don't
People
really
ask
know.
her how you doing, and I just tell them great. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But no one, I don't really get a lot of around here people really that. I mean, some people say, that's wonderful or whatever, but not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And
You've got a lot of people that are non-believers that you got to get to believe.
Right. Right.
and we also, so like in your book it talks about when you have generational curses and things like that on your life, a lot of times there's like a loss of children and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we also lost a child, our fourth child,
Mm-hmm.
and
And we also lost one late-term pregnancy too. The other time
yeah,
it was pretty late on that
Yeah.
one too. So we lasted
Mm-hmm.
pretty much two. Because
Yeah.
the one
and plus we
Mhm.
had several miscarriages before
Okay.
that.
Yep.
And if I believe that, if you knew before, if you read all those prayers and things, that
Mhm.
there wouldn't be all those problems,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it just, if people knew
Mm-hmm. Yep.
that that's what was causing their, not being able to have children.
not being able to sleep, not being able to do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
Change
he
your
had
life.
insomnia so bad
Mm-hmm.
that,
And my grandma had it,
yep,
and my mom, she don't sleep very good,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but she
and
don't want to listen to me. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing is once you learn all this, it's just like Jesus. He would speak the truth, and then some people would receive it and they would benefit from it, and the other people wouldn't, and they wouldn't benefit from it. And so there's people out there, unfortunately, that are in the church that are struggling in their marriages, striving, fighting, arguing. Talk about that. How did that affect
We
you?
did a lot of that.
Yeah. Not
Not-
too bad. Usually once every 6 months
Every
we
6
would have
months.
an argument, but
Mhm.
It's usually because I was being a butthead.
Yeah. but he's just, he's always been, he's not like ever been like abusive or anything like that. He's always been a good husband and
Mhm.
help.
She's the one that threw everything, not me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
he would provoke me
Yeah, well, I know that happens.
Yeah. to the point that I was like, you couldn't take it anymore.
yes.
But he,
I didn't throw anything back though.
no, he was pretty
I was
good
docile.
most
I'm
of the
just
time.
saying.
But you've seen more peace in your marriage, basically,
Oh, yeah.
after this.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we
Seen
we
more sleep.
definitely- Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely more peace, loving, more,
Mhm.
just easier to get along with. We laugh all the time.
You do. I've been with you the last couple of days, and you do laugh a lot.
We're together all the time. We work together.
How about putting your cold
helps
feet on me?
me.
How loving that is. But
He helps me.
Mhm.
We do everything together, and
yeah,
all
we
of our
pretty much that's all we do is we're together all the time. We don't-
yeah.
Yeah.
We're never apart.
And how has this impacted your children?
At first, I think it was a little. They
Didn't know what to
didn't
think.
really know what to think.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
When everything first happened,
I
especially
think our youngest one really didn't know what to think.
yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
because
When her mom and dad hold hands and stuff like that, I think she didn't know what to think about it.
yeah, and then Travis
Told me
used,
we were weird. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
he would what was it that I got sidetracked on my mind, but he I can't remember.
That quick.
Yeah, that's not.
But you love each other more. You feel more.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I love her
Closeness.
more,
Oh, you're so full.
but I've always loved her a lot.
No. But
Otherwise, we would have made it this far. I
Mhm.
Mhm.
way before your books would have been the end of it.
Yep.
If she didn't love me, it would have been the end of it for sure.
So, what would you say to people that are watching that maybe for the first time? What would you say to them about the need for getting healed from the past wounds and being
If you want to
delivered?
live in peace and relax and enjoy life and have fun, you need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's maybe an hour out of your life that here and there if you want to read them, and it doesn't take long to read the prayers. It doesn't take long to read the book. It just,
But forgiveness is the key.
that's the thing. Is you got to forgive everybody that's ever done anything. Even people that didn't even do anything. But if it pops in your mind that something you didn't like, you better forgive it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because that just drags in there too. I mean, even if they didn't physically do anything to you to, at that time or whatever, but if something that they done that revolved around your life that angers you in any way, you got to forgive that too. I mean, there was lots of things that I would start thinking about after, we do them. That'd be like, well, what about this person did this one time? It might have been just words. It might have been just, something petty, but you still have that in your mind that they did this, and you remember it, and you're like, so you have to forgive everything, every little thing. It don't matter how severe it was, what it was, you have to forgive it. That's all there's to it.
Because if we don't forgive others, it says
Right.
God can't forgive us.
And then you just need to board your past up and live for the future, because there's nothing in the past to live for. All is in the future.
Yeah. And the only reason,
only God knows the future.
and the only reason that people hurt us is because they're still hurt, they're wounded, they have not been delivered.
And the only reason anybody attacks you from the past is because the enemy knows the past, and that's where they're getting it from. That's all there is to it. There's no.
And there's a lot of people in the church that need deliverance. Most everybody does.
I mean, the spirit of religion in the churches is just flowing like no other. We've seen it just by trying to get you in places, and we've been to a few. We've been to the biggest ones around the area here, and it's, there's a few people we enjoyed to go watch, and it was pretty good. But there's a lot of stuff in the churches that are just. Like recently we went down and tried to we just stopped in the park. It was raining so hard you couldn't even see. We had our big horse trailer in the pickup, and we thought, well, we'll just go stay at the big church in Redding. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. They had a big giant truck parking lot down at the bottom. No one there at all. No one anywhere around. It's raining so hard you can't see. And so we pulled in. We thought, we'll just stop here tonight because we were going to get some stuff the next morning and then going to see our kids. And I mean, this is like the biggest rainstorm of the year, and this guy, 1 o'clock in the morning, comes and beats on our door and tells us we have to leave. We're not allowed to stay there.
Wow. That was the Bethel in Redding.
Yeah, I know what that's at. I know that place. I mean, I know that.
I don't want to completely throw him under the bus, but it was wrong and it wasn't right. And I don't know what
And
makes them think that they
you know.
built that place, because they didn't build that place. God built that place.
Right.
And everything they have there is done by God's work. And if someone needs a place to stay, you should. I mean, especially if they're not. I can see if someone's tearing stuff up and doing something dumb, running around, up in the parking lots, and you don't know what they're up to. If someone just wants to park there for the night and rest, and it's raining so hard you can't.
And we're part of God's.
We had to get dressed in the middle.
We're God's people.
Exactly right. And it's like we had to get up in the middle of the night, get all dressed, and go out in the rain. I mean, by the time I got done, it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I was soaked from head to toe, and we went down to the Mighty Fine Foods parking lot and parked in there, and no one ever said a word to us.
Wow.
It's like
that's amazing.
those people come there in the morning, they didn't care. And they're just normal people, they're not anything to do with anything. And
so that right there shows you
exactly
the religion.
The religion, there's.
It's all about control. Like I said, if I could see if someone was running around and doing weird things and up to, you could tell it wasn't right, but if someone's just there to take a rest and park there for a little while, what's it gonna hurt? There's nothing there to hurt anything. I mean, you got a 4-acre parking lot with one little horse trailer sitting in it. And that was a big deal. I mean,
And we go to the
Several
church
times
whenever
we went
we, if we get a chance, we would go down there and we go to that church. So I just couldn't believe that.
That is. It's amazing.
And it was a Saturday. It wasn't, or no, it was a Friday.
It wasn't
It was
even
a
close
Friday.
to the church day.
Oh,
nothing.
wow.
And
No,
it wasn't like there was going to be church the next morning, and it just. And when we go there, there's nobody parked on Sunday. There was nobody parked in that
every
parking
once in a
lot.
while, there's been a couple of people, bigger rigs parked down there, motorhome once or twice, but all that room, and it's like I just couldn't. I didn't understand it, and I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting for me traveling around and hearing stories and stuff from the church people. And there's a lot of times people say, you know what? It seems like those that aren't church people are almost nicer sometimes than those that are church people. Why is that? And I'm like, well, think about Jesus when he came here. The church people of the day were the Pharisees and the scribes. They were religious. They had demonic spirits they weren't delivered of. They didn't have the true heart of Christ. And so Jesus was not real happy with those people. He called them out. And those who were hurting that weren't even part of the church, he would go to and he would love on them, or they would draw to him, and then he would love on them and help them get healed, help them get delivered.
Well, Bethel, we're calling you out to change your ways.
Yes, amen. All right, well, thank you so much for sharing your testimony,
Thank you for
being
coming.
honest,
It's been
and
great.
being transparent, and helping people around, the area too, because I know that you've opened up your restaurant this weekend, where we were able to do some ministry out here. We did it at your home last year, and it's growing. The word is getting out. People's lives are being changed, and marriages are being saved, and no striving, fighting, arguing. Healings are taking place. Healings without changing a person's heart normally tend to not last, because the person's got hardness of their heart, they have unforgiveness, they have pride. Pride is a huge part of people in the church. If they don't get delivered from all that stuff, that gives legal rights of the demonic spirits to come back and torment them. So deliverance is huge, inner healing is huge. And when churches ignore this, or they don't want to talk about this, they're not doing a service for their attenders. And the attenders that go to the churches, what do? They tell them when they've got sickness and pains and or emotional stuff they can't get healed from. They always say, go to the doctors, go to the psychologist. And I'm like, that's not going to get to the legal rights of the demonic spirits, no matter how much you go there and take all this stuff. So.
And people, people go to church because they want to change. People go to church because they want healed and set free.
Yeah.
And they're not giving that
People
to
that
them.
don't usually go every day, sometimes they walk in there on a Sunday because they need help. They don't need someone to be like, what are you doing here? They need help.
Right.
They don't need
Yeah.
to
They're already
walk in there and
hurting.
feel uncomfortable. They don't need to walk in there and have everybody stare at them. They need to walk in there and be able to sit down and people talk to them and say, pray for them, and just
Love on them,
Yeah.
like Jesus would. Yeah.
Yeah.
no matter what they look like, it doesn't matter. It's
And
just,
I
they're all-
honestly
it's all
believe
people.
that there will be revival here
Mm-hmm.
and healings. There were some healings here on Saturday. There were
Mhm.
some healings here.
Yep.
Physical healings.
Yep.
Along with healings from all past wounds
Hearts
and
and
things
all
like
that.
that.
Yes.
Hearts were healed.
Yep.
I know for a fact that my daughter had healing.
Mm-hmm.
She had some equilibrium things going on, and her ear felt like it was plugged.
Mm-hmm.
Her hearing would go away,
Mm-hmm.
and so the prophet that was here, Dennis, he said somebody has a plugged ear,
Mm-hmm.
and said a few things, but she didn't stand up and say, "Hey, I need you to come and pray for me."
Mm-hmm.
And then she left, and the next day she had an episode again where her hearing left,
Mm-hmm.
and she was crying, "Mom, I'm gonna lose my hearing. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
My earrings, I have, all these things are going on." And finally, I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" She says, "Well, can I get a session with Nelson, or can I do something?" And I said, "You can do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do it."
Yeah.
And so she says, "Okay." And so she comes down here, and I said, "Would you like Daddy to pray for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And she says yes. And so I put my hand on her ear,
Mm-hmm.
and we prayed for her, and I could feel the heat coming out of her ear and into my hand.
Wow.
Super hot.
And she said that her ear was so hot, and it was hot after that for I don't know how long,
All the way
like an
to Chico,
hour
I'm
or
pretty sure.
a couple hours, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that, and her ear was bright red,
Wow.
and it was hot, and I could feel my hand was just super hot,
Yeah.
and she said that it was gone.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
there's healings, and there's
Yeah.
things that are going to happen, and it's going to be amazing.
I remember one of the
So-
ladies that came, she said that had she known that it was going to be like it was and how it was calm, and I just explain it and teach it, and then people calmly repent and or forgive and or whatever and take authority, command the demonic spirits to go. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I would have had all my friends here." She
Uh-huh.
goes, "I want, to bring all my friends back because this is such what needs to be done."
I think it'll get bigger and bigger and
It's-
bigger. if
I
we do that.
believe
We
so.
Keep everybody here.
And it's like the
Yeah.
churches themselves are the ones that don't want to have people get healed and delivered. It's because the spirit's on them, the demonic spirits are on them. and they have pride, and they don't want people to get healed and delivered. It's
all the fluffy
unfortunate.
stuff, so people come there
Mm-hmm.
and fill their basket up.
Yeah, actually, it's about money.
It
A lot
is.
of it is, yeah.
And
Agree to all evil.
like
Mhm.
he had how we were talking about the insomnia. You know, he would only sleep for like 2 hours a night sometimes, but usually 2 or 3 hours. That was it.
Wow.
If that, it was.
Mm-hmm.
He just did not sleep.
Yeah.
And now he falls asleep before I do a lot of times, and he starts snoring, and it makes me laugh so hard. I just sit there. He does snore, and he sits there. I threw him under the bus, but
I
he
don't snore.
you sit there,
I
and
snore
he
in my
just-
chair.
and yeah, he snores in his chair too.
Okay.
But now he sleeps.
I know I
He
do it there
goes
because I
to
wake
sleep.
myself up.
Okay.
But I'll look over and it just makes my heart happy, and you know, I start laughing to myself because he's over there snoring, and
Yeah.
it makes my heart happy that he has
Sleeping.
peace now,
Yes.
you know.
Amen.
So it's a good thing.
So freedom is good.
Yes.
Freedom is good. Freedom
That's really
from
good.
all torment. And so when we don't take an offense over anything, we can love on people, we can laugh, we have childlike innocence, you know, all this stuff gets restored that the Lord wanted us to have from the very beginning, that was stolen from us because of the way we were raised, because of our, you know, grandparents that were involved in things they shouldn't have been, or our parents, and life is good. It's funny, lately I've been posting a lot of things from different places. I've been traveling, and I'll put hashtag life is good, because it is. When you're healed and delivered, it's like, and when people aren't healed and delivered, they're mad and they're angry and they're jealous, and there's a lot of people in the church that, I can't stand it because you're having good times and you're happy. It's like, well, you can have them too, but you have to do the work. You have to repent. You have to humble yourself. You have to forgive. And, then
And
you
if
can have
people only knew how easy it is.
it. Yeah.
It's so easy just to, if you really want to change,
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy just to, you know,
You have to be honest.
yeah. And as soon as you give it all to God
Mm-hmm.
and forgive everybody, and just then peace comes.
Yes.
And the enemy also comes too
Well,
when
sometimes
that
I say
happens.
sometimes you get there's
Yeah.
a wolf in sheep's clothing, and you gotta
Yeah.
don't feed the wolves, because
Yeah.
sometimes you're not. It's like vicious. I mean, you gotta really.
Yeah.
They'll attack you to no end,
Yeah.
and we've seen that a couple
Mhm.
times too.
Mm-hmm.
And another,
Around here.
and when he got set free, it was
We don't
like,
have any friends now.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, if you don't go along with the you know the Pharisees and the scribes that are in the church,
Mhm.
then they don't want anything to do with you. If you and it's sad because there's so many that are in the church that are doing so many evil things, you know, sexual things that are perverted, not being pure before the Lord, and lying and accusing and flesh, not the fruit of the Spirit. And that's what really the Lord showed me, is that when you're healed and delivered, you have the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control, faithfulness. That's who you are. That's your heart. That's your mind. And there's so many in the church that are not that way. And they need to forgive. They need to be healed from their past wounds and delivered from the demons tormenting them.
I always say, if you can't be faithful to God, you can't be faithful to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make things right with the Lord before you can make things right with anybody else. That's
Yeah.
my experience, is that you have, if you're faithful to Him,
Yep.
then you can be that way to everybody else
Yeah.
too.
You don't have to, image is everything to people that aren't delivered. They have to have the image of looking good. But then behind closed doors, they're not. And then oftentimes, if they're operating in a lot of deep darkness, and it can be the pastors' wives, you know, worship leaders, intercessors, people that call themselves prophets that still need deliverance.
People that
And
sit on
There's lots
the
of
worship team and play the guitar and
image looks good, but then behind closed doors, how do they treat their spouse? How do they treat their children?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how, you know, when you do start to go through your deliverance, and you know, you read the books and everything, the enemy will come at you strong.
Every direction.
Mhm.
And that's where you really have to learn how to battle it. You have to
Mhm.
learn how to battle in the Spirit, because
Mhm.
if you don't,
Break you
it'll
down.
break you down. So that's one of the things that you have to pray a lot. You know, when you start your deliverance, you have to read your Bible, and as soon as you hear anything negative come into your mind, you have to command it to go in the name of Jesus immediately, because if you allow it to keep speaking to you, it gets in your head and then it makes you trigger. So you have to command it to go immediately, because nothing negative is from the Lord.
Right.
So if something negative or from the past that you're trying to get over comes to you, you have to immediately command it to leave in the name of Jesus, and then just say, Jesus goes before me, because if you don't learn how to battle that, it'll bring you down. So another book that I really like is by Kenneth
Hagen.
Kenneth Hagen, and it's called The Believer's Authority.
I love that book.
And that book really helps too in battling and learning how to battle your spiritual battle when you're going through deliverance.
Absolutely.
So.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. I know you're busy, and I'm very, very appreciative of you guys sharing your testimony, because it helps others to understand that if you have a debilitating disease, it may be because you have Freemasons in your background. It may be because of the things that we are doing. You know, we have to make sure that we take out every single legal rights that the demonic spirits have to torment us, and do our part. There's so many people that are like, well, I've been praying for healing, and I've been believing it, but yet there's still unforgiveness in their hearts, and that gives legal rights to the demons to torment them with these afflictions, or it could have been in the bloodline. So when we expose the truth, and people can truly get freed, and then they can enjoy freedom in their lives. So.
And the Lord has really blessed us to be able to do things, you know, travel. Across, you know, just to pick up and go. And, you know, be able
We're gonna do it here in a week.
be able to do things, and he's
But we're
blessed
driving a
us.
Ford, so we might need help somewhere.
All righty. Well, we will see you guys later on Facebook and YouTube. All right. Bye-bye.